Back and bigger than ever, it's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
Well, all righty, welcome back. It is another edition. I'm just going to leave that in. Of the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com. The entire gang is here. It's our second pod of the week, and I think, guys, we could just spend a straight hour talking about Baker Mayfield. I mean, we've all covered him. We know him. Jake Trotter, Bob's brother-in-law, covers him for a living now. And, I mean, don't mess with Baker Mayfield. Just let him just be insane and crazy and competitive and chip on his shoulder guy. But, man, you've opened up a hornet's nest now in Cleveland. Welcome, boys. Welcome to the show.
What happened at the beginning?
I had something in my throat.
Oh,
okay. I tried to start
in and out. I couldn't hear anything. All I heard was you yelling.
Don't worry. It'll sound good when you hear it back, or it'll sound terrible. But you'll hear exactly what happened. I can tell I kind of had that throat thing because I had a couple of remaining Chick-fil-A nuggets and just hadn't washed it down properly. So a little flimmy.
It was a very, very clean, not clean throat clearing. Like it was, it's going to be nasty, but it'll be perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, but I'm not taking it out. I'm leaving it in. I've done enough editing for the week after the last pod. So,
if we need to take a gas can to Cleveland, I will take it up there. I will take a match or a lighter or whatever needs to. I guess the fire's already there, but it's
That's
enjoyable
not the adult
to watch.
thing to do.
What?
That's not the adult thing to do, Eddie.
Sure.
Looking for an adult here.
Bob, you pipe down. You're almost at Bob Stoops Part 5 category now with the Thad Turnipseed story on the board. I just saw that thread before I got on here.
Yeah.
The first time ever they've turned on Bob.
How's it feel, Bob? You're part of the club now.
Well, too busy covering things.
Oh, there's no excuses in this world, Bob.
Bob just dropped his nuts on the board. That's what just happened.
I had an all-day flight back. Doesn't swing it with this group. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm sorry. I'm ready to read this story just like everyone else, though. But I'm looking forward to it. Now you're on a time crunch before Gabe and Teddy have him on their pod.
It's a true race. It's a race against time.
Race against time. A race against the Crimson Corner.
Bob he's like Rambo. He's just alone in the woods. He's got to fight his way out.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with this.
I spent 2 hours yesterday doing it all. Now it's just about writing it and forming it correctly.
Well, good. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm ready to go.
Are you willing to put a day? Oh, tomorrow? Is it going to be ready to go tomorrow?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Man, back against the wall now.
I accelerated my curve in my timeline, and I spent that's all I did yesterday afternoon.
I guess now just do I jump Vargo and just say no scoop? We're just going to let Bob have his day and just watch the board melt down at me.
It's not going to be my early morning thing because I have to take care of some things here. But I would say if I'm not done by 2 p.m., I'm going to be mad at myself.
There literally was a "we don't pay to hear stories about your family" post on that thread.
Yeah.
Oh, God, so perfect. It, which kind of makes me want to turn this whole podcast into a family chat.
Family pod.
I will burn this bitch to the ground.
You two really...
Eddie's going to Cleveland.
We are going to have to let you two just go at it sometime to have the dad pod. I mean, it doesn't have to be a weekly thing, but at some point, just a little mini pod on the side or something. You talk about your Disney most hated movies and all that stuff.
Oh, God, we could do a ranking.
Okay, so I know Bob is just like, he's chomping at the bit to watch some NCAA today. And I don't know if you want to head out a little bit early, but we'll get back to Baker, but let's talk about the latest in OU news, and that is OU winning their opening round of the NIT. All the concern about how they're going to fit another game in between the women's teams. Man, I'm making all kinds of weird noises today. And they do have a game time finally.
Yes, Sunday night. I can't even remember the last time OU basketball played on a Sunday night.
They had the Sunday game. Did they have a Sunday game this year, Bob? Exhibition, maybe?
No.
Okay, what am I thinking?
It does seem like in recent memory they've had a
Sunday they might have played Utah State in the final of that tournament.
Oh, that was a Sunday game.
The South Carolina tournament.
But that was like a Sunday afternoon, and
yes.
We didn't have to be. I haven't been in the Lloyd Noble Center maybe on a Sunday. That's what we're talking about.
No, not at all. It was always Tuesday, Saturday.
Sure.
But
I don't know what
7 p.m. against St. Bonaventure. We'll see what I thought the crowd was fun Tuesday. It wasn't a lot of people, but lively. It was fun.
Lively.
Yes.
So it was a lot of people that liked a lesser game to maybe improve their standing for next year, trying to create some momentum. I see what's happening here, OU basketball. I like it.
That's a non-qualifier when you're talking about NIT versus the NCAA tournament. That'd be like not making a bowl,
that doesn't work
like
at
making
all.
A scrimmage.
Yeah, you got to have 15 extra practices.
Or no, what it really is, Eddie, you guys didn't get to experience this. It's like making the Russell Athletic Bowl or the Outback or whatever the hell it is now, the Camping World.
Maybe even a lesser bowl. It'd be like
the Cheez-It Bowl now.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Like, I think that the Alamo Bowl would have had that feeling had there not been the turnover we had, that everything went through in December. Without Bob down there, that thing would have been just a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But, Bob, that game at halftime, it was neck and neck, and it just didn't seem like OU could. Basically, Missouri State kept
Mosley scored 22 points.
He kept them in that game. And then second half, he sat out for a good bit, and then OU just started, just draining threes from all over the court in several different people.
Yeah, we made the joke on Twitter that once you get out of the Big 12, this is what you can sort of do. And this team's playing at a very high level, even if Tanner Groves isn't, a huge part of it during the last week and a half. There's a lot of other pieces that have come to the forefront and are playing their best ball. And, you wondered how the focus was going to be, getting over the disappointment, getting over the gut punch, and They did just fine. Maybe it took a few minutes, but when you listen, I thought the one that could be concerned about the most, and Porter said it too, Jordan Goldwire, super senior who transfers from Duke, who's now a 2 seed, to come here to try to be more of an offensive weapon, play in the tournament. That doesn't happen. Does he care about Tuesday? He came out and set the tone in a great way. Both ends of the floor. 3 blocks in the first half by Jordan Goldwire. You just don't see that. And that kind of, that let everyone know, hey, we're in this, Yeah, we're mad. We're mad about Sunday, but we are here and we're going to make the most of it. And they definitely did that the rest of the way.
It's a little bit unfortunate to have to say it like this, but they're playing some probably their better basketball over the last month and a half, 2 months. At the right time, it's just not in the right tournament, right? They're playing pretty good basketball.
Well, let me ask you this. The one thing, and it's not the major thing, it's just a contributor, but has Marvin Johnson just replaced Bijan Cortez?
No, because he's rarely going to run point. He's the EJ replacement, basically. It's now Jacob Groves and Marvin, but with Bijan, and Porter said it Tuesday, he's got to get him back. You got to get Bijan back. He didn't go with them in the Big 12 tournament because it was Baylor and Texas Tech, and Bijan didn't fare well against those guys in the regular season, so he didn't try to throw him into that pressure cooker in Kansas City. And then he brings him out Tuesday, and 2 possessions, 2 bad turnovers, so he sits him down, and he doesn't play until mop-up duty time. But, these next 2-3 days will be imperative to get that confidence going. For someone who I've known for 3-4 years, I've never seen Bijan look as lost as he did Tuesday night. So he's got to get it going. He's a lot better than that. He's played a lot better than that. And so, no, I don't think they're giving up on him. Hopefully Bijan's not giving up OU. But, yeah, that was a bad, moment for him, and he's got turned around just like C.J. Nolan did. C.J. Nolan had a off first half, too, and then came back in the second half, played probably his best half of basketball the entire season.
It would seem that St. Bonaventure, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I sat around and watched a bunch of St. Bonaventure basketball this year, but they got a big guy inside that probably will present a little bit of a challenge for Oklahoma on Sunday evening. But it's a game that you should win. They should get to New York City at the end of the day.
They should, and St. Bonaventure is a very old team. I know. I'm sure that's something Porter will talk about when we get with them later this afternoon. And he's mentioned how tough it can be to go against those teams that have like 22, 23, 24-year-old men compared to like 18, 19-year-old kids. But they should make the run, and if all goes well, we should have the Mo Gibson revenge game against North Texas in the next round.
That'd be fun. Virginia headed down to Denton to take on Grant McCaslin in North Texas. I guess, are they playing on Sunday as well?
They're playing at 5 on Sunday.
Okay, so OU will know who they're gonna, or the winner of the OU St. Bonaventure game will know who they're gonna play. I remember watching St. Bonaventure in the Charleston Classic at the beginning of the season, and the kind of the tone at that time was this was a St. Bonaventure team that I think a lot of people expected to make a run to the NCAA tournament. Like, I think that they thought that they were going to be kind of the A1 out of the A10, and it just didn't. They never were able to put it all together, losing to St. Louis in the conference tournament.
Yeah, this was because they're so old, because they're so experienced. This was supposed to be the year they put it all together, and they just fallen short a couple times. They're a good team. They're not a great team, just like Missouri State. It's one of those things where if you're playing at your best or very close to it, OU shouldn't have a problem. And that's why I believe as you get further along to the tournament, you stop dwelling on last Sunday and you just focus on the task at hand. And I don't think it should be a problem. And you make a couple threes, that's all it takes. You don't have to make 10 or 11 like you did Tuesday. You make 5 or 6. That's usually enough, which sounds really weird to say that. That's all it takes, but that's it. Just make a few threes, spread it out between Mo and a couple other players. That opens up everything else, and the Sooners just play a lot better.
I'm just waiting for you to say that OU is trying to get Isaiah Mosley out of the transfer portal. That guy can fill it up. He's a good basketball.
It's funny you mentioned that because do have people that know a lot about Missouri State, and they are worried that he is gone. He's been non-committal about returning for Missouri State going in the next season, and that first half sort of his audition tape. It's like you put that out there and say, hey, I can do this on a consistent level, and I'm sure if he hits the portal, there will be a lot of suitors. And and the one thing I'm wondering, the further run this goes, does it change anything for the transfer portal for the Sooners in terms of people leaving? And let's just go ahead and say, does it change what Mo Gibson wants to do? If he has the way he's played the last 2 weeks is probably the best back-to-back performances he's had since he's been in Norman. So if he can keep firing on all cylinders like that, and he looks at all the pieces that are still coming back, does that change his line of thinking in terms of going pro and maybe going to Europe or going through the portal or sticking with OU? I'm not saying that's going to be a case. I would love to speak to Mo in a non-post-game setting and sort of get his thoughts about where his head is. But it just, if you make a nice little run and you get to saying, hey, we could do this again next year with the 2022 class, with Elijah Harkless coming back, maybe I'd stick around too.
I'm sure that you probably didn't hear, but I was watching the first half of the game on Tuesday or Monday night, and Fran has said it a couple times, Fran Fraschilli, and he did the OU game up in Kansas City as well in the Big 12 tournament, but he's mentioned multiple times that, or at least insinuated that he thinks Mo Gibson would be likely to come back to Oklahoma. I don't know. He's said it enough times to where it kind of makes me wonder if he knows something that maybe we don't.
It's definitely possible. I mean,
yeah,
France got a lot of connections, and we don't have the chance to really visit with Mo. Like Tuesday night was the first time I've talked to him in person in 2 years. Tuesday night was the first time.
That was the first Porter Moser post game.
It's not like we've been able to develop a real relationship with these players during the last couple seasons, but I mean, he's got a lot to think about, because he would be that old guy going into next year that everyone would be talking about. But if he likes the pieces that are there, and there's a lot to be excited about, it not the worst move for him, but he's just got to decide what fits best at this time in his life.
Let me ask you, Bob, just in terms of the makeup of the team next year, for people that haven't followed it, like what is coming in recruiting wise, and is Porter been a guy that's trying to maybe leave some spot? Of course, you never know what's going to happen, but is he a guy that's kind of left some spots for portal guys too?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know Rick Asanza most likely is not going to be back with this team next year. You can just look at all the people that Emmanuel Dildy and David Patrick are following on Twitter. They're going to get into the portal, and there's going to be at least a couple spots that they'll have to try to fill. But you look at the 2022 class, a lot of scoring, some guards, not one person in the post. So that is obviously going to be the point of emphasis throughout the portal. But Ortega away from New Jersey has been sensational. Miles Uzan from Vegas and the West Coast has done a great job. Benny Schroeder, that's going to be the wild card, right? And you're bringing a kid in from Germany. How quickly does he adjust, or does he even need an adjustment period, or does he just come in and be the type of scorer that he's been overseas for the last couple of years? And so that replaces your three super seniors, and then we just sort of see what else is going to happen. And I think there's a lot of guys that you don't feel are going to leave, but there's always going to be one or two that sort of catch everyone off guard. And then I think there'll be maybe like one like Asanza, where it's a mutual parting of ways, where OU will do everything it can to help him find a landing spot, but it's pretty obvious that he doesn't fit what Moser's looking to do, and he won't be part of this team going into next season.
Mo Gibson's like, you've said this before, Bob. He's like 23, isn't he? Almost 24. He's an older super senior, I guess you could say.
Yeah, if he takes the COVID year, he'll be one of those guys you point toward. It's like, this is your old. This is how you can stay old, and that experience, and see if that helps. Because I mean, there's certain point of logic says you've reached the end. Like, we don't need you to stay. We don't need to stay old. We need to try to freshen things up. But I think the way Mo has adapted his game, and the way Porter's kind of asked him to do that, or kind of like very much implored him and encouraged him, you're a lot more than just a 3-point shooter. We're actually seeing it during the last couple weeks. He is driving to the basket more. He has that little scoop layup that he's been trying to do time and time again, and he's not afraid to dribble the ball more. And if he's more than just a spot up shooter, and that'll help him, it'll help the team, and it would definitely give them more options to look forward to going into next year.
It'd be kind of a fun little group going into year number 2 if they could get everybody to come back, and then you add in that recruiting class that you just spoke about. I don't know. It'd be fun.
By the way, Eddie, are you going to be hate watching Sister Jean today?
That's Friday. They are the first game Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I picked Loyola, so I think that I'm going to have to cheer for him. Now that we got Porter, over here, I need all the good karma that I can get. So,
my dad being a Rambler, he'll definitely be going nuts Friday.
Oh, interesting.
I think I like them more than Ohio State too. I think that's what it comes down to. I would rather see Loyola Chicago win than Ohio State.
Yeah, we're doing a little bracket contest. I've just filled up my bracket this morning. I always say I'm not going to do it this year, and then I look at it. I'm like, oh, it's not that hard to fill out a bracket. I mean, I didn't put a whole bunch of study or thought into it, but I'm
100%. I love the bracket, but I think the survivor pools, that's more fun, and then obviously playing the game, point spread wise. But the survivor pool is where it's at. I think that's way more fun than the bracket stuff. The bracket's kind of just old hat.
As I've gotten older, I go more chalk just because I hate being that guy that like you don't have two Final Four teams. You only have like one Final Four team after the first weekend.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I think I picked Kentucky.
That's when you start finding like the really smaller gambling circles that you can enter, like the restart tournaments, and just pick from the Sweet 16 on and stuff like that.
Right. Boy, we need.
Josh has got a bracket, right?
I have Jenny Baranchek and the OU women winning the national championship on the other side.
Josh, you don't sit the girls down and have them fill out brackets? Have like a family competition?
No. The last time I did a bracket was probably like 2015, 2014, something like that. It's been a while since I've really gotten into it. So I thought about doing it this year. I mean, I got so bitten with the bug of basketball last weekend. I mean, it's 20 minutes of Big 12 action. So I thought I was really into it, and then I couldn't get motivated to actually do it this week.
Then it was just long enough just to tweet about it, and then you just quit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like I said, I mean,
you're like an Instagram model of basketball is what you are. You just take a real pretty picture and then you let your gut out.
I mean, I just let my gut out. But yeah, I mean, I got you. Like that happens either way. But yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Sunday night, 7:00, St. Bonaventure in Norman. Second round of the NIT. NCAA is about to get underway as we're potting this morning on a Thursday. But really the biggest news out there is Baker Mayfield and what is going on with the Cleveland Browns. They made a play for Deshaun Watson, and he told them early this morning that he wasn't coming. And so now, even after someone told Chris Mortensen that they wanted an adult for their quarterback, which I don't think there's any, like, Chris Mortensen would not say that if someone in that organization did not repeat that, which, and maybe it is an old scout, or something that isn't really in line with, Stefanski or management or whatever. But the fact that someone is saying that, I mean, my God. I mean, Baker Mayfield is the last person you would want to know that you say things like that behind his back.
Chris Mortensen just the whole premise, even for him to pass that along or communicate it, he knows how stupid he sounds when one of the options or the option that they've been chasing is a guy that had a deposition for 22 civil lawsuits.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly.
I would be uncomfortable even passing that information along. It seemed like he maybe misspoke or something. I don't know. I haven't seen him like retracted or anything, but
no,
the whole thing is just it. I get it,
but like, the fact that this news comes out, and then Jake Trotter, who is embedded, with the Browns and with Baker, then reports that if the Browns are planning on making up with Baker as their plan B, they better come up with a plan C. And you're just like, holy shit, this is really getting good now. Like, this is serious. You've reached serious pissed off Baker territory.
Because what is the logic? What is the why would you say any of that if you're going to offload him? Cool, no problem. Like I business is business. That's fine. But why would you downplay your trade bait? Like, why would you
your
make
trade
it sound
value
like
is
you
now
don't want
diminished
him?
because of this?
Because you say the adult thing, assuming Mortensen got that from somebody, which, I mean, he's been around a long time. I assume he did. But if you're then other teams are going to be like, well, what don't we know about? Because Baker, whatever you want to say about Baker, he hasn't done anything to deserve a shot like that publicly. It's like Eddie was talking about the Deshaun Watson comparison. It's the same thing with Baker always getting compared to Johnny Manziel. Can we knock that shit off? Like, there's no comparison from what they've done off the field. Baker talks a little shit, and somehow he's Johnny Manziel, who's got clear alcohol problems, has been divorced, has all these other issues, and you're like, what? Like, where does any of that come from other than they were both kind of similar in their playing style.
What I find interesting is like we're seeing this in college, and all you guys that listen to us, we talk about this so much, and you've seen it from Bob Stoops to Lincoln Riley, now to Brent Venables, and like how the handling of athletes has changed, and like you cannot be, and that was part of Mike Stoops' downfall, is that he just could not change the way that he approached his players, because you can't just browbeat guys all the time. It's just different. I mean, we've all seen it happen, and you can talk about, players are soft now and this, that. But I mean, literally in the NFL, players exchange jerseys after one of the teams loses. Like, and you've heard, like, you get the dinosaurs in the NFL that are like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this stuff. Like, why would you do that on the field? It's so disrespectful to the game. And it's just like, hey, times have changed. So you have all these old school get off my lawn guys that are making the decisions and personnel decisions, and they're football guys. They're from a different era, a bygone era. And Baker's new money. I mean, he's new blood. He operates in the same way. It's just like, when Odell Beckham leaves and they stirred up all the controversy about, well, he really didn't like Baker. And the whole time Baker and OBJ are just like, yeah, it's cool. And it was his dad that was stirring up the shit, not him. The players, and it's just like people get mad about the players, like when they transfer, just like with Caleb Williams. It's like, or even Lincoln Riley, players won't say bad things about people when they leave them, and they don't look at it as like he's betraying us or this and that. Like, the mentality of sports, people who play sports, is so different compared to the people that manage them and procure them and draft them and all that. I just see like all this coming to a head at some point, because you just can't operate this way anymore. It's like there's some type of cancel culture that needs to happen in front offices of the NFL, and it just hasn't happened yet.
The thing about it, too, is I don't think the Browns are crazy for thinking that maybe they want to move on from Baker. Like, I don't think that that's like asinine. I don't know if I would be there and do that. But if you want to go try to get Deshaun Watson, like, I'm not offended by that idea. Just don't basically shit on Baker Mayfield, because before he got up there, that franchise, everybody knows, was nothing.
Well, remember all the jersey names that people would make the jersey for the quarterbacks and just list all the names, and it was like went down to the bottom of the jersey of all the quarterbacks they'd been through over the years.
Oh yeah, that was great. Like, it was almost to the point like it was on the guy's arms and elbows and stuff, because there was just more names than he could possibly fit. I mean, somebody brought it up on the board.
Go ahead, Josh.
He is Cleveland's best quarterback since Bernie Kosar. Like, think about that. Like,
how many people alive actually saw Bernie Kosar take a real life snap? Like, I barely remember him taking snaps.
I remember him, but it's vague for sure.
Well, and here's the thing.
I remember more about the hair and stuff.
Here's the thing that just pisses me off the most. It's like Baker Mayfield played last year when most quarterbacks wouldn't, knowing that it would probably hurt his reputation as a quarterback, but he wanted to play. He could still play, and he didn't play well, but if he would have just sat out like most quarterbacks would have done and just let the Browns suck without him, they would be worshiping his return right now. And instead, because he decided to play through that shoulder injury and the Browns didn't have a good year, it's like no one's paying attention to the fact, well, yes, he was playing hurt. Like, I saw some jokes. It's like Baker Mayfield tried to respond, but the response was intercepted. Like that wasn't who Baker was before last year. And I feel it's so backwards, because it's like at one point you want all these old school football people to recognize a guy that goes out there and plays through pain and injury, like literal injury he played. He had to have surgery in the offseason. But yet he doesn't get any credit from those old bastards who just say that he's they want an adult as a quarterback. It just, like, what do you actually stand for in the Browns organization? What matters to you? That's my question. I guess there are no answers.
No, I mean, you don't know. Like,
because I was going to say is, you compare that to the Falcons, right? The way they told
with Matt Ryan, yeah,
sure,
Matt Ryan over the weekend. We're going to look at Watson, and where Baker has said what he learned social media.
They fucked him.
Difference.
And they did kind of somebody that got something from the Browns said, oh well, they told Baker's agents at the combine that they're only going to explore top tier quarterbacks. Like we're only going to explore people that we think are better than your client. Like that's a bad, but
none of which want to come to Cleveland.
But yeah, when you lost Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry in the last 6 months, so it's like they didn't bother to follow up and say, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to talk to a quarterback. I just want to let you know, like we discussed at the combine. They didn't even bother doing that.
Oh, I mean, it's a top-down thing. Jimmy Haslam, I mean, the stories are unbelievable the way they've run that franchise really since he arrived. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the Browns' problems predate him, but he's certainly not helped himself.
By the way,
and at the end of the day, like Baker needs to play better. I think everybody knows that. He'd be the first person to tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, no one's sitting here saying you don't have a right to look at somebody, but it's just like knowing Baker like we do and covering him, like you think that as an organization you would know how to handle that situation. Like, okay, we have a quarterback. If we don't handle it a certain way, it could go really bad. Like, how do you just not know your star quarterback? And I realize these are all commodities. They all can be, traded and discarded and all that stuff. But at the same time, like, who runs a business that just like treats everyone like they're just a disposable item? No one that has a good business. I mean, exactly. Does the NFL value their employees at all? Or is it all just a cold-hearted business? I mean, I guess it was the Bengals that had the idiot that cut J.D. Runnels that one year.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Browns.
I mean, look at the good organizations. The good organizations probably do. I think there's probably a characteristic of all the, really, really good organizations out there that probably treat their guys the right way.
I mean, the Patriots can afford to treat you like, I mean, obviously they didn't, the whole Brady breakup wasn't good, but they're winning Super Bowls, so they can do whatever the hell they want to do. The Browns have barely been to the playoffs.
When you're winning like they are at that clip.
They're a machine, yes. And you know that going in. And apparently, the Von Miller thing, apparently, he doesn't leave the Rams with any hard feelings, and they tried, and they were okay with it when he signed with the Bills and got a contract that no one else was, the Rams wouldn't have paid that. I mean.
He probably went back to the Rams and they're like, they're going to pay you what? Okay.
You got to take that, yeah.
You got to take that. You got to go.
Lost Obo, too.
Who?
Yeah, they lost Obo to the Texans.
Obo.
Yeah.
They lost their two guys.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that he's going back home.
Yeah, that is really cool. I'm celebrating about it.
Terrible organization, but
but at least he's going home.
Yeah, at least he's going to be able to play in front of friends and family.
Yeah, that's going to be
I'll
awesome.
never forget going down to Houston and seeing a young Obo Okoronkwo at a spring football. I think it was their spring game, wasn't it, Josh?
It was. And Eddie, if you remember, he was the afterthought. He was nobody compared to the defensive end. Uh-huh. Yep. Did he go to USC? Was it Oregon? It was Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't know.
Issues.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if he even he made it to campus, but I don't know that he ever played it down. And I mean, long, lanky, explosive dude. But I remember watching Obo and thinking, this cat's really good. I don't know where he's going to play, but because he played, people don't remember, he played defensive tackle for Elif Taylor because he was just so disruptive. They're like, well, we're going to put him in the middle. And that guy, when he showed up at OU, he was probably 220 pounds, playing 5A, 6A defensive tackle in the state of Texas. I mean, that's a monumental ask.
So, I mean, you guys, would you rather see Baker just be moved somewhere at this point?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where?
There's no way you come back from that. There's no way you come back from that.
Don't.
Like that relationship does not become good now.
I mean, if it really could
and
happen,
say what you will,
I'd
some
love
of
to
that's
see
on
him in
Baker.
Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm down for the Colts.
Sorry, Josh.
I'm so torn. Like, because there is part of me that's like, yeah, Baker can be a good, functional, kind of, top half of the league type quarterback. Like, I think Baker's ceiling is Kirk Cousins. Like, that's where he can be. Like, he can be a good quality player. He can get you to the playoffs. But you guys know me. Like, if you're not truly competing for the Super Bowl, burn the thing to the ground and start over again. Like, because if you're not competing for the Super Bowl, what's the point? And I just don't think Baker's that guy. And I know that pisses OU fans off, and that's fine. Like, it's just, I don't see it. And so, if he's the guy for a couple years, and
so
you can kind of see, hey, maybe I'm wrong.
You don't think like playing in a wild card game helps build momentum to next year or anything like that?
Not if I mean, I see what you're like. I know what you're getting at, and I get it. Do I think? I mean, but at the same time, like the NFL is a quarterback league, man. I mean, like
no, it's
not. Like,
and there's not enough of them to go around. That's the problem. I mean, that's why Carson Wentz is in Washington. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be in Cleveland. I mean, my God, would I love to see Jimmy Garoppolo as Cleveland's quarterback next year. As Browns fans say, what the f*** have we done?
I love Browns fans. Like, he's 37-16 as a starter. Yeah, it's because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, you keep telling yourself that shit. Like, that's a really good defense, the best ground game in the league. Like,
and you don't have
Deebo
Samuel to check down to every other play.
Yeah. Stop. Just stop all that madness right now. But
as somebody that watched,
I would say the Browns are getting what they deserve, but the Browns franchise is, the fans are not. That's a really good fan base that just gets shit on.
As somebody that probably watched way too much Cleveland Browns football this year.
Same.
I did too.
Baker wasn't great, but I can remember just thinking, like, how many times did they just have god-awful penalties defensively? Special teams were terrible. Like, Baker Mayfield is part of the problem in Cleveland, and he didn't play well. I think he's far from being the problem, though.
Their biggest issue was holding penalties on offense. Baker would complete a pass for a first down, and then it'd be 2nd and 27.
Sure. I don't know. It just, the whole thing seems, I guess there's also a little part of me that kind of wants to see him go back to Cleveland and kind of tell everybody else to fuck off a little bit.
I
just don't know,
get that chip back.
No, here is his.
Maybe a little. I just don't know if we might be past the point of reconciliation and them being able to move on from this. There might be too much out.
Look, if I had Baker's ear, I would tell him this. I'd say, look, go back, keep that chip on your shoulder, have a great year, and then when your contract comes up, that's when you make him pay. That's when you get the deal when it's announced. The entire world says, you're paying Baker Mayfield how much?
Sure.
That's your best revenge right there.
And we can defend Baker and talk about the whole issue with the adult comment. This is the one area where I would say it's somewhat valid. I don't see any universe where Baker lets that go under the bridge. Like, I just don't see him capable of saying, I'm going to let that go. Like,
he's not capable.
Him.
No, he's not capable of doing that.
In response to that, isn't that part of maybe being an adult a little bit of like letting?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the one area where it's probably valid, is the exact area they've put him in.
I don't know if it's being childish though.
They drafted him. They knew that's what they were getting.
Yes,
and they loved that part about Baker.
And the fans love that part about him. I mean,
and Yeah, and I can't remember which one of you just said it, but like there absolutely is some merit to like you've put him in this spot. Like you've forced him in to a situation where he knows he's not wanted. Like who would want to come back to that? Like where I'm going to be looking over my shoulder every damn year.
But here's the thing. What the hell does Cleveland do now? They pissed off their best option by chasing something that they were never going to get. What's their best option? Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that their best option?
I just want to know, like, what went so poorly? Like, why has Deshaun Watson eliminated them? From a football aspect, they would be the best opportunity, would they not?
Yeah, he's looking at Panthers, Saints, and Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a really good running game, but he's got Amari Cooper and David Njoku. Because with Landry gone and Odell Beckham gone, it's not stocked at receiver anymore.
No.
You'd think with Watson, though, they could get a decent free agent come along. I mean, somebody out there.
Julio Jones going to get released or just did.
Yeah, but look what people paid for Christian Kirk. I mean, who's the guy? The Johnson? Is it? I can't even remember the receiver's name. Real under the radar guy, but really good. I can't.
Where?
I'm trying to think of the team. I don't.
Did he just sign a contract?
Quite a bit in free agency. Surprisingly.
Does Tim Tebow is that part of it or? No. Such a great move, football guy.
Jeez, I mean, it doesn't matter though. They're not getting Deshaun Watson. I mean.
There were people that said he never, like, when that started, they're like, he said he doesn't want to play in cold weather. He does not want to go up there.
Kirk Cousins just got extended for $35 million. I mean, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's a little funny.
That's the crazy thing. Like, we can have this conversation, and whatever becomes a Baker, I'll be shocked if he doesn't make $70 million more in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Not even including this upcoming contract where I think he's guaranteed like 18 or something.
I don't even know the number, but think of all the money Sam Bradford made, like going to Minnesota and then with the Cardinals for that year. I mean, like he made a lot of extra money on the tail end just staying in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, once you get to those points, you're making it.
There is a team out there for Baker. Like, Sam, the injuries and stuff mounted up, but I mean, the Vikings were there for him. There are fewer quarterbacks now in the league than when Sam was in the league.
Mm-hmm. There's just such a clear divide. I mean, there's 6 or 7 really elite dudes, there you go. And then there's like 10.
There's a bunch of Derek Carrs and Baker Mayfields.
And Baker Mayfields. Exactly. I mean, you've got
Cousins.
the Josh Allens and the Mahomes and that future Hall of Famer bunch.
Even Dak Prescott's not an elevated quarterback in that category.
Justin Fields is definitely in that group, Bob.
You're right.
It's amazing to me that, guys, and I respect the hell out of them. Like Chase Daniel and Colt McCoy are still employed.
Yes.
Making good money.
Chase Daniel has performed the heist of the century in the NFL.
Oh, he is the man.
Most people can't even tell you, including me, what team he's a backup on right now.
Well, he just signed this
he?
past week, Gary.
Good Lord.
$2.5 million to be the backup of Justin Herbert in Los Angeles.
Well, it's like Josh knows this. Like, it was so funny to me to watch all of the Colts backups get exposed as soon as Peyton Manning had that neck injury.
Oh yeah,
What the Painter guy and who was the other? I mean, like guys that had been in the league forever, and then all of a sudden, like, well, you're up. It's your time now. It's like, oh shit, this guy really can't play. Like Mason Rudolph is trying to be that guy. I mean, they just took Mitch Trubisky instead of trying to go with Mason Rudolph. I mean,
if Chase Daniel completes his current contract, he will have made $60 million in the NFL.
He's an all-time G,
and has
man.
thrown
He is an all-time G.
8 career touchdowns.
It's beautiful.
7 interceptions. Unbelievable.
He must just be like an awesome guy.
I think he probably
teammate's
is.
teammate.
And I've heard the same for Colt McCoy. I think he's a pretty awesome guy, too.
Colt McCoy was one of those guys, like, even OU fans had trouble hating Colt McCoy. Like, you're like, that's a nice guy.
Didn't Sam and Colt get along pretty well?
Yeah, I think so. I think they kind of bonded up at the Heisman Trophy celebration or
over their hatred of Tim Tebow.
I think so. Was that mutual hatred of the third, or
it possibly could have been? But I think anybody that comes into contact with him that
kind of has the same opinion.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. By the way, I want to take a quick
super real.
Let me take a quick time out. Mention I don't know about you guys. I wore some of my my Oklahoma the words on them, Oklahoma Dead Soxy socks the other day out to a radio event, and man, those socks are just awesome. Go check them out at deadsoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com. Use that promo code Boomer, and you'll get 25% off. They've got you don't have to just buy the singles. They've got different collections if you want the wagon wheels or you want the Baker Mayfields or the new retro sock. I mean, it is just, I mean, it's just, they're fantastic socks. I can't think of anyone that could make a better sock than what they're putting out at Dead Soxy right now. Plus, you have the Oklahoma stuff. The weather's getting better to the no-shows. I know Eddie's ready to get out on the golf courses again and get the no-shows going.
The only thing that would have made that Al Ishbak video better is if he would have reached up or pulled up a pant leg and he would have had some Dead Soxy socks on.
Maybe we can recreate that with you after your Nutrisystem plan takes effect.
I'm so skinny right now. It's unbelievable. I'm terrified how skinny I am.
Are you just starving to death all the time?
Really not too bad.
Okay. The bars are not bad.
I think the food's actually not terrible. I don't know.
No,
maybe
it's not terrible.
Completely talked myself into thinking that it's not that bad, but so far so good.
Are you just peeing all the time because you're just guzzling water all the time?
I need to drink more water.
See?
For sure. It's tough. Like it gets to a point, you know this, but it's like I can't drink any water. Like I don't know how to drink more water.
Well, water is such a pain in the ass to buy. I mean, like when you go to the grocery store, it's like,
oh, I'm all tap, baby.
Oh, I can't do tap.
Raises no KCOK.
Norman's always got something weird going on with the water, so I'm all Aquafina all the time.
Yeah. North OKC has some of the finest water on the planet. I will
straight from Lake Hafner.
Yeah, that's the wonderful, slightly brown water of Lake Hafner is just delicious.
Now, I do have the filter in the refrigerator, so I do that sometimes. But it's just convenient. It's convenient because I'm always sitting at a desk just to have a little water bottle.
Do Britta's work? Do I need to get one of those?
Britta's are not bad. You can see it, Eddie. And some of them, they're like, well, I mean, not some of them. I'm sure all of them. You can see the little sediments that it'll pick up over time, like as it filters out at the top. So you can see that it actually does get some junk out of your water.
Well, it's kind of like have you purchased a Keurig recently? Like now they have like little charcoal filters in the water tanks.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a coffee podcast? We got a lot of coffee guys in this podcast. I don't think I know that.
I've never had a cup in my life, so no.
I don't think
you've never had a cup of coffee. Really?
What about tea? Have you ever had tea?
No.
Oh my God, are you Mormon?
I need to pick me up at Gatorade.
Wait, Gatorade doesn't have caffeine in it?
It's the Michael Jordan stuff. It's all Michael Jordan for Bob.
My God, Chicago. Just gonna start calling you Chicago.
We need to make Bob a bracelet, WWMJD. Like, what would Michael Jordan do? That's his bracelet.
Ceiling is the roof.
We do need to work on your merch line, yeah. Because right now your merch line is just a laptop. That's just a picture of a laptop on a shirt.
Oh, that's
Should it be my broken laptop?
I have a brand new laptop for you, but you won't come and get it.
Well, I got a good one, but the one I do the most typing on is now the S key isn't working as well.
Let me give you this laptop.
That's becoming a pain, being have to type S's like 4 times to get the register once.
At this point, I have bought Isaiah Thomas more laptops than I have you.
I love that Bob is sitting there typing out multiple S's, and he's like, I could go get that one at Carrie's, but it's like, God, Carrie's is messy. That's a messy house, and I don't want to go over there. Like, I know what's going on for Bob.
Bring it to the office. And yes, the office isn't exactly clean, but...
Oh, it's not that dirty. It's not dirty. There's just a bunch. We just got a bunch of. It's moving. It's a moving.
There's a lot of boxes
facility.
and yeah,
stuff is still going in. That's completely. That's fine. That's okay.
There are,
and it will keep anybody from breaking in. You know, the homeless problem will be abated.
Well, we have a security system now, so don't you try, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, you homeless people listen to the podcast. Don't even try it.
Or do try, and then. Feel the wrath of SoonerScoop.com.
And if I'm
find out what happens, right?
And if I'm
around and find out exactly.
Find out.
Let's not challenge people to break into the office. Can we just not do that? That's still glass I have to replace, which is not cheap and hard to find.
That would be. I mean, our new armed security guard, Kyle Rittenhouse, would take care of it.
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
Working the door at the deli this weekend.
I don't even know where to go now. Shit. Spring. I mean, it's spring break right now. So spring football is getting ready to start next week. We haven't got a schedule, so I can't really tell you exactly what we're doing yet. And I know they're really busy right now. You've got, freaking 4 basketball games in, 5 days or 6 days or whatever. So
yeah.
It's a little tough, I know, on sports information, so I'm not going to give anybody a hard time. But, we should. I've been told some things here or there. Brent on Monday. I didn't see that email.
Well, we were told that at
Mike told us that.
Coach.
Okay, at the assistant coach thing. Okay,
but beyond that, that's what we don't know.
Do we think that there's going to be any major position changes going into spring? And particularly for any of those guys over in the
offense to defense,
secondary. Yeah, or
just like David Agwebu, Marcus Stripling, where do those guys fit with what Venables is trying to run?
And we all are wondering about Key Lawrence, nickels and safeties, and I've seen enough Clemson to know kind of what they do with their linebackers, what they that part's the Agwebu thing's gonna be really interesting because Brent's going to come in here and he's going to look at it with a different set of eyes, and he's going to say, I've had that type of athlete at Clemson, and we did this with him, and it was successful. So I think they're going to find a good place for David Agwebu. I just don't know what that's going to be. But don't we all kind of agree that linebackers just not working, just straight up linebackers just not working for him?
Middle didn't. It seemed like they're...
Didn't take as you thought it would. Yeah.
Do you remember talking in the preseason thing? And I remember writing one of the preseason roundtables is who's going to be the breakout player this year? And I think at least three of us, I thought, said David Agwebu, and it just never came together.
No. And it doesn't make a lot of sense because he's a freak.
It's not a lot of stuff that came together, though, for that team last year.
Well, the nice thing is OU has some option with him because they do some different stuff where they're standing up and putting guys down, and that last year at Clemson, I've watched a lot of that, and they're very flexible with their DNs. And David's big enough. If they wanted to say, "Hey, man, we want you to get to 255, something like that, and you're going to play some kind of jack type stuff, and then you're gonna, we're gonna have you put your hand down on third down," That's completely possible, and you're cutting down on when you watch David, it's hesitancy. That's what hurts him. When he sees it and just goes, the dude makes plays everywhere. But if he'll just go work, like as a defensive end where they're just like, hey man, just go get the quarterback. Like go make this real simple. I think he could be really good at that. And that's what I thought he would be at OU. I thought when, that freshman year when he flashed at times, it was playing that stand-up outside linebacker. And if you can find a role like that for him, I think that could be really good and could be a thing that, frankly, buys some time for Clayton Smith to kind of figure out what he's going to do.
Well, I mean, people might have forgot, but remember the play he made in Bedlam and Norman?
Mm-hmm.
Where he batted the pass and then
Yep.
caught it with a diving interception. I mean, like that's like we saw that. We're like, shit, this kid's getting ready to take off.
He played wide receiver in high school. He's a really good athlete. I mean, like there's no doubt, and he's so long that I think until you stand next to him, you can't recognize how big he is. And I obviously haven't seen him in a little while now, so I'm sure it's even more startling. But he's a big dude.
He really is. I mean, for people that haven't,
that's analysis, by the way.
Yeah.
David Agree's a big dude.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like the guys that are left over in this program. There's a lot of big. I mean, Key Lawrence, big dude, but he looks really good as a corner.
Hey, say what you will, the defensive personnel that Alex Grinch left are miles ahead of what Alex Grinch took over.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Except their best safety remaining is Justin Broyles with experience.
I didn't say it, JB. I didn't say that.
He hears you talking shit.
I mean, I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying.
I know.
I think out of everybody, I was the one that recognized and gave him credit for playing well last year. Because
that's fair.
Because I had to preface everything by saying, look, I know people don't want to hear this, but Justin Broyles is playing good football, winning football, like just not getting beat football.
He was one of the few guys that played well in November.
Yeah.
Or played at least above where we'd gotten used to. Everybody else kind of cratered, and I thought he actually stepped his game up and played better than he had all year.
It's going to be interesting because there's so much to learn from the defensive line, how that's going to come together. It is interesting, isn't it, Eddie and Bob, like that Jordan Kelly was talked up so much by guys that were leaving?
Yeah, I've sort of wondered. I mean, if it's not now for him, whenever would it be between him and Corey Roberson and Isaiah Coe? Like
By the way, I love what I saw of Corey Roberson last year. It's just that they just stopped playing him. I remember that West Virginia game. He had a really good game.
The guy for me like that was Isaiah Coe. I felt like every time Isaiah Coe was on the field, good stuff happened. And he just didn't get a lot of snaps down the stretch. And I don't know what that – I mean, maybe it's completely injury or something.
For some reason, Thibodeau only trusted Isaiah Thomas when it came to nut-cutting time playing on the interior. And it progressed that way more and more as the season went along. And then you stop seeing Corey Roberson and you stop seeing Jordan Kelly and you stop seeing Isaiah Coe.
And it could be they like what Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs were doing too, and they just want to get all those guys on the field at once.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Ethan Downs is really interesting. I'm very interested to see what they do with him. Like, do they bulk him up a little bit? Because he's so muscly, but he's flat bellied. He could put weight on, but I'm interested to see what they see him as.
Do you see a possibility that maybe Deshaun White doesn't even have a starting job coming out of the spring?
I'm really torn because yes,
and it's really a question.
There are more talented players behind.
Yeah, it's a question about Stutzman and it's a question about Kanik. I mean,
yeah,
well, Witter.
I want to see what Shane Whiter turns into.
We're going to get Eddie to say Witter by the time his career's over.
I just love that we had Josh's favorite guy brought up out of the blue by someone else. It was almost a dig. And then Eddie mispronouncing his name right after it.
Let's be clear.
I got wrapped up in thinking about Josh fantasizing about what Schmitty's going to turn Ethan Downs into. They seem like a match made in heaven.
You talk about perfection. I doubted Ethan Downs, and I'm like, I'm really interested in what they do with him. And then literally Bob turns around and talks up Shane Witter. It's a perfect moment of my evaluation skills. But yeah, like I said, I thought Shane came on toward the end of the season, started playing pretty well. He and I mean, you know, it was Asamoah's show, but I thought Witter played much better over the last month of the year.
Did you know
than he had prior?
Did you know? I'm sure you've probably heard this, but part of the Witter problem is that he was a mess off the field.
Well, I was going to bring that up. Like Alex Grinch always hinted at that at the beginning of the season, that he was kind of in the doghouse. And that was really kind of a storyline after the first couple of weeks of the season. It was like, what the hell's going on there?
He's got to mature. I mean, apparently from some stuff I've heard, not real good. And, you know, possibly, you know, you hope that he's still on the team by the time the season starts. That might show some maturity. I mean, because what he's going through now with Schmitty and this new coaching staff, like, I could see them just not putting up with it.
And just to clarify, I haven't heard anything, at least. I don't know. Maybe you have, like, nothing over this past semester or anything. Like,
no. Like during last season. Yeah. Just
right. Okay.
And I'm not talking anything like illegal or like what happened with Bridges and those guys. No, I'm just saying general knuckleheadedn't.
You're saying he was the fourth weed robber on the ground?
No, I'm not. Don't do that. Don't you get me caught up in that crap.
Speaking of, I said it on Twitter, and I told you guys too. I was looking for a DM yesterday, so I start going through it. And I mean, I'm all the way back in early December, and even like the day of that Sunday when Lincoln, you know, announced he was going to USC. Guys, there was some unbelievable rumor stuff in my DMs that, like, I think in all that was going on, and we're recording like 6 pods an hour at that. Like, I mean, it was just crazy. All the stuff we had going on, I had missed some really good stuff. I mean, almost none of it turned out to be true, but like there was someone who was very confident that Spencer Rattler was involved in that whole situation, and then he lost the team because of that. Now I want to be very clear. I'm not supporting that. I do not believe
was involved with Bridges and those guys.
Yes, and that's why the whole season went downhill, because they covered it up for Spencer, and
oh my God,
that didn't happen. Like, wow. I want to be clear, but just want to put into like words how crazy some of my DMs were.
No, I mean, but you got to remember at that time everybody was racing to get their rumor out there. And it just so happened that there were so many rumors floating around. One was going to stick, and it ended up being the Annie Hansen, Lincoln Riley thing that stuck. And it was so ridiculous the whole time. But, I mean, if it hadn't been that, I mean, that Spencer Rattler rumor could have caught fire. There was some rumor that was going to catch fire and become like the Facebook meme of our generation. And we now know the one that did, but you're right. I mean, there was so much crazy shit that people were throwing out there that just because they wanted a reason to explain all this and why it happened, because it didn't make any sense.
Eddie, I want to give you credit. I can't tell you how many friends, family, whatever I've gotten into conversations with, and they've come to me with that rumor. And I still remember the first time we talked about it on the pod, and you were like, yeah. So he's got a problem with that, but he's moved to Los Angeles, and his wife has approved it. Like, no, that's not what happened. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm like, that's brilliant. And then I'm like, and guys, he hired her too. Like, she's there, and her husband has a job. Like, yeah, like that didn't happen. Like, that's just insanity. And so, you know, like, there's all kinds of crap you can say about Riley, and God knows we've said plenty of it, but there's some stuff that's just wrong. Like, that's not fair to her, and it's not fair to him. That's garbage.
No, it's not fair to him at all. And he was f***ing the girl at the trails. Everybody knows that. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Woody, we need you.
I don't know.
I think Woody would just go ahead and tell us go find somebody else at that point.
So true. You guys laughed about it. You literally dug your own grave.
the last couple of podcasts haven't felt right not talking about Lincoln Riley and USC. They did announce that they're having the spring game on the same day as the OU's, and it's going to be on ESPN. That gave me a big eye roll this past week.
Well, yeah, I mean now Lincoln can just tell his future quarterback recruits, I really wanted to be there for Baker's ceremony, but we had our spring game too.
Hey, Kerry, you got this, so I don't want to say too much, but I hear that he's doing really well with some of the media out there, really starting to build those relationships.
Yeah, I'm really curious to check back in as they're getting. I may check in about Friday just to see how those guys are, what their access looks like for spring.
For the record, the people that don't know, USC has just open practices, just for everybody, all the time, always.
I heard that. What's the last guy's name? Todd. I always do the last name wrong. That they fired like 2 games into the season. Because I always want to say Clay Helton. Yeah. I always want to say Todd Helton because of the baseball player. Clay Helton. Clay
Helton, Todd Helton probably do a better job than Clay Helton.
No, but apparently they had, and I don't know if it's because of the firing in the middle of the season and all that, but he had apparently locked things down a little bit more than previous staffs had. But not anywhere near to what like Lincoln did at Oklahoma.
I think the funniest part is just looking at their practice facility and the way that things are set up over there, and just knowing how paranoid Lincoln was.
How many windows are around that?
They literally, I think it backs up to a dormitory. I think those are dormitories that are on, like, I don't know what direction it is, but like the far side of the field over there.
He'll get those 3M'd out pretty soon.
If an OU Daily reporter can get out there and watch it, I would literally consider paying for their flight, like just to see them troll.
I'm trying to go out there. It just so happens.
Should we just hire a J school student to like live in Los Angeles and?
Oh God, that'd be amazing.
See if they can do all their classes out there.
That would be so beautiful. Just perfect.
We could probably get a USC journalism intern.
I'm still going out there. I just don't know when.
Guys, I got something important to announce here. I have watched a full half of college basketball. Didn't turn the channel
passively.
Once. Colorado State, Michigan has been on my TV the entire time we've been talking.
I'm sorry.
It's not been good. It hasn't been pretty, but I've watched it.
What's this? Who are the teams again?
Colorado State, Michigan.
Colorado State.
Just went to half. Colorado State's up like 7.
Ooh, that's not good. My bracket's already busted.
Well, they were up like 14 at one point. They were.
I am really curious to see how the Big Ten ACC teams do, because just because of the way that things played out in the Big 12. I mean, I'm not bitter or anything. It's just after seeing Oklahoma, play against a non-Big 12 team, really curious to see if Big Ten teams kind of suck.
Well, it's really funny that we bitch and complain about Notre Dame and Rutgers getting in. Bob boycotted the game. It's probably one of the better games that we're going to get over the next couple of days. Last night in that first 4 play-in games. So it always works out like that, though, doesn't it? Notre Dame probably beat Alabama. It always works out like that.
Yeah, because it's not that when they're in, they can't play competitive games or have fun. It's that they didn't deserve to be included in the first place.
Sure.
But if we're all going to follow the conference records and stuff, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing
that have a 9.
That's the one thing that's going to benefit the Big 12 is because they only got so many teams. Like the ones that are there are the really good teams, so they're probably going to win their first couple of rounds.
My big prediction is Kansas gets knocked out in the second round.
I thought about that. I think it's like their year
because I'm crazy.
It's been a while since that's happened. I don't know.
It's crazy. Iowa hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since 1999.
I can believe that, I guess. Josh, anything recruiting you want to hit on that's developed since we last talked on Monday? I know Scoop coming out tomorrow.
I would
Northwest kids all coming.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing is the FSP guys. It's a training group run by is it Tracy Ford? I think that's right. Yeah, Tracy Ford.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's a trainer in the Northwest, based out of Seattle, and works with he's worked with all kinds of elite guys. And actually, he trains Jaden Wayne, the big 5-star defensive lineman that Oklahoma's been in on for a long time. I really thought that ship had kind of sailed, and I don't know that this changes it, but to get Jaden Wayne, top 10 player in the country, get him on campus tomorrow, along with, he's got 3 or 4 other guys coming with him that have, major Alabama, Clemson, Power 5 big-time offers. So it is, and Ashton Cozart will be there. Ashton Cozart, funny enough, being a Dallas area guy, actually plays 7-on with this team from the Northwest a lot. So,
how does that?
It's like I said, because most of the time, Eddie, these guys are traveling all over the country. Like, they're not playing a lot of tournaments in Seattle, so they come down to Dallas probably as often as they play up there. So he can, in a worst case, he meets them in Las Vegas or something. So there's a lot of guys that, one of the things I know people kind of get get wound up. They've got a quarterback, Rivals 250 guy named, I believe it's Jabari Johnson. It's spelled with a G, so I'm a little unsure. But he'll be there tomorrow. I don't think that has any relationship. I've not heard anything about a second quarterback so far in this class. I don't think that's the plan from everything I've gathered. I think it's going to be, one quarterback a year is kind of what it looks like is likely to be the plan. I will tease and scoop that I'm starting to maybe get a feel for who the 2024 quarterback could be, who the guy they initially target, and he will be quoted and discussed in tomorrow's scoop. So I'm kind of, I won't lie, kind of stumbled into it, but interesting nonetheless.
That is. I'm looking forward to finding out who this is.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I couldn't just ask you in the war room, but
yeah,
I'll wait.
I'll wait
until
it now.
scoop.
You just edit it out.
I'll wait until scoop.
Josh put some
Everybody will know I
information
said it
behind a
live.
paywall that even we have to pay for.
He makes the staff pay for information now.
It's got 3
We have to
members.
Venmo him just to get him to answer DMs.
By the way, I did learn last night.
Josh, Cameo, Eddie. Yep.
After how is the Cameo going? Steady stream still?
Good. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Not really. It's going well, though.
I did learn, because I downloaded the Chick-fil-A app finally into my phone after I went in and had to sit in line from 5 sorority girls that ordered out of one car. Had to watch one debit card come out after the other. And so they were like, people were like, get the app. You know, I mess with that. And so I got the app. And until I bought the app, I didn't realize that you can just buy bottles of sauce at Chick-fil-A. Did you guys know that?
Yep.
Yes.
Nope.
Just stupid.
I couldn't be less surprised that Bob didn't know that. I don't think Bob ever gets to eat a place like Chick-fil-A. So,
well, it's not free, so I don't know how he knows that. I mean,
sure.
Polynesian?
Sure.
What'd you buy, Carrie?
I'm boring. I went barbecue.
Barbecue?
Okay.
Their barbecue's not
Nothing
bad.
wrong with that.
But I no longer have to give them the stink eye when they say I'm limited to 3 sauces.
I will say, interestingly, for people out there, just kind of doing a quick count here, the next 2 weekends, OU will host 14 Rivals 250s or Rivals 250 or Rivals 100 players. That is pretty salty for a group that is, nobody's even on campus this weekend, and then just we'll be getting rolling next weekend. So that is, they've got a huge list. The T.A. Cunningham kid, and multiple possible 5-stars in the 2024 class, some big-time D linemen. I'm actually kind of working on a story, and I keep saying I'm going to get to it. I haven't finished it yet, but there is I want to look at how different defensive recruiting has been the first 3 or 4 months here of the year. It feels very, very different.
You mean
It's
just in
hard to
terms of
keep up with all the graphics.
You mean
Yeah,
different in terms
All the
of
Junior David.
of like the type or like the types of kids that are ranked?
The level.
Okay.
The level of kids that are shown. You look at it. So on the 26th right now, there are I think 10 Rivals 250 or better guys. One of them is an offensive. Two of them are offensive players.
Wow.
Like, think about that under Lincoln Riley. Like, that could not happen.
Well, they were getting better talent, but it just wasn't, and it was better compared to what we'd been seeing.
Sure,
but it wasn't
there
just
was growth.
Like it still could not compare to the offensive talent they were bringing in. Just on
I think
pure
that only
volume
shined a light on it.
basis.
Yep, you're right. Big bit of news. I just put up some Thursday notes while you guys were talking basketball. I have free time during that, so I get a lot of activities done then. The defensive tackle from North Gwinnett in Georgia, Caden McDonald, he was supposed to come on March 12th. Someone close to his mother, I think a close friend of hers, died, and they had to do the wake that weekend, and so he wasn't able to go. He's already rescheduled. I'm expecting it to be the 26th. He hasn't verified that it'll be that exact day, but he has said, he'll be there in the next couple weeks. So, and I know it's not this weekend, so I'm just assuming the 26th for that junior day. But obviously, huge news for OU. Rivals 250 guy, big time. I really like his tape, and he's the guy that has, Ted Roof is from his hometown. Brandon Hall recruited his brother at Troy. He played Little League football with Jackson Arnold, the quarterback commitment. So he's got a ton of connections to Oklahoma. I think his mother has some family in the state as well. So it's not like your normal Georgia guy where you're like, oh, well, good for OU, but that's not going to happen. Like he feels like an actual possibility.
Plus, he's going to be visiting that dumpster fire in Auburn before he comes to Oklahoma, apparently.
Nothing wrong with looking good by comparison.
You imagine what a just dog and pony show that is, trying to recruit with that staff right now? How they probably just pretend like they like each other and are going to be there for a long, long time.
I didn't watch the video of it, but Brian Harson's first press conference opening up the spring had to be the most uncomfortable thing of all time.
I need to go seek that out now that you mentioned it.
I mean, just because I think it was technically his first public comment since everything happened over there in the failed coup, basically.
Yeah, coup.
I like coup better. The car couldn't start.
We don't like
the
Coop
thing
anymore,
that you
remember?
didn't see. That's right, Coop. The thing that you couldn't see in the shot was the calendar over on the side where everybody in the Auburn staff was taking bets on the day he would be fired. You bet your $5 and you mark your name on that date on the calendar. You couldn't see it in the shot, but I know it was there.
Yeah, that's man. Auburn and disasters. I mean, they just go together.
It's just high tide or low tide with them. They're either rolling or they are a train wreck.
Which has got to be good for business. I mean, I'd kind of.
God, yeah.
Yeah, like someone called me the other day, and it was somebody that we worked with on another site, and they were like, just like, man, I can't believe Lincoln did that to you guys. And I was like, well, we could have that happen every 4 years. It'd be just fine business wise. Mm-hmm. By the way,
send him a housewarming gift.
Congratulations! No, I asked, and a lot of people said that. Well, you said you were going to commission a painting.
I still like Bob's suggestion on that, by the way.
Still like what?
I still like Bob's suggestion for the painting itself.
What was the suggestion?
Costanza?
Oh, yeah.
Costanza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people just wanted us to send poop.
Well, that would be.
We're adults.
Unlike
Baker and us we wouldn't do things like this.
Killer. We would send somebody a hitman.
Okay.
As a joke.
Woody, pay no attention to that. Still be our lawyer, please. So, yeah, be interesting to see what happens with Baker in the coming days. NCAA tournament, spring practice is getting ready to start. Big recruiting weekends getting ready to come. So stay tuned on Soonerscoop.com. Go check out SoonerScoopStore.com for your unofficial 40 merch. And I'll tell you this, like, it's not going in our pockets. Anything you buy on SoonerScoopStore.com is either benefiting Isaiah Thomas, NIL, building our offices for NIL. So just consider it a fundraiser. Even if you don't like hats, go buy a hat. That's all I ask. Just
do your
gives money for no
NIL
reason.
part.
Yeah, we'll have more direct stuff coming as well. So, office, this weekend should be really big. We had, I want to say 56 Ethernet runs, and Bob is anxiously awaiting the Wi-Fi to be installed so he can sit up and watch some NCAA. Trying to get that all done before the tournament really gets cranking, which it is today. So I failed, but yeah, got a lot of networking to do.
I love that you set yourself up to shame yourself. Trying to get that done, didn't do it.
There's a lot of shit going on, and it's one of those things that's like you feel like you're getting nothing done because you want to get it all done at once. Well, you are getting stuff done. It's just, it's like when you're doing it feels like it's taking forever.
Eddie, Bob, you know he was going to do that networking by himself at one point, right? That was a thought that crossed his mind.
Yes.
Probably the best decision you've made in the last 2 years was hiring that.
Did you go into the back room, the equipment room, and look at all the wire that was coming out of the wall? Like where it all comes into one place?
I'm happy it's being done professionally.
Yes.
I am our tightwad, and I know what that cost, and I'm like, fine, don't do that to your, like, that's suicide-inducing work.
You could hear it on the last pod. After they started drilling into the walls, I was like, God, I never would have gotten this done. I
would have never, not that you wouldn't have known what to do, but just, that's their job. That's what they do.
Yeah, and they can, replicate it quickly. I would have cut out one piece of drywall, and a month later, I would have made it through the first metal stud. So yeah, it was money well spent. So
no doubt.
And we need more money, so go to SoonerScoopStore.com and buy some hats.
Bam.
All right, appreciate you guys. It's been 2 pods. It's been a lot of fun. Who knows? Maybe 2 pods is in our future. We'll see. So thank you to all you guys. Thank you to everybody for listening. Bob, I don't even know if he's here anymore. He's probably just watching NCAA basketball.
Here.
Oh, okay. Bob, enjoy your NCAA, but damn it, get that turnip seed out or they're going to turn on you and it's never going to be lived down. I guarantee it. I can tell you from experience.
Can confirm.
I was going to say, if there's anybody that can give advice on this, I'm sure it's coming from you.
And trust me, you will never not be scared of the mob, because every time that Eddie or Josh posts the news team assemble gif, I get night sweats because I know I have to get the pod up as soon as possible.
We have we've adjusted the protocol on that.
Mm-hmm. Once you realize the mob can touch you, that you have the fear. Then you're like, okay,
it never goes away.
Exactly. And you also know that you'll never get ahead of them. You'll never buy so much currency that they can't touch you again.
And here's the thing, Bob. It was 2011 when I did the 4-part Bob Stoops. It was the damn Insight Bowl with Blake Bell and Landry Jones. And I did 4 parts, and I was going to do a 5th, but I started doing the 5th, and I was like, there's not enough here to do a 5th part. And I just didn't do it. And to this day, it's still, when are you going to get Stoops Part 3 out?
You should just drop it in the middle of June.
God damn it, there were 4 parts! And you didn't get a 5th. It wasn't the 3rd part. Stop it with that.
You should drop the last nugget of info, out no context, in the middle of June.
The day I decide that I'm retiring, I will release Bob Stoops Part 5 and show you how boring it actually was.
I'd fixate, do you still have the file? Eddie's absolutely right. You should just release it at some random-ass point. And they're like, Bob Stoops quotes? What the hell is this?
It's Part 5, you motherfuckers.
The best part is it'd be aggregated.
Yeah, that was before aggregation even existed. All right, that's
you should tell
do
them
it.
like you can't aggregate this. This predated aggregation. You actually can't now.
All right, well, that's going to be the next stage of aggregation is aggregating old stories, old historical stories. I bet
we need to do that.
we'll make our aggregation just aggregating game previews from old Big 8 days, when before they play like Missouri in a bowl game or something. All right.
Aggregating how to watch links.
All right, that is it. We'll see you guys next week on a regular scheduled. Well, we don't ever have. Who are we kidding? We don't have a regular schedule. We'll see you next week on next week's pod, right here on the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.